Listen, before we even get into this, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now. Put the phone down. Sit up straight. Because what I'm about to walk you through is one of those moments that you are going to be talking about for years. One of those moments where you exactly remember where you were sitting, who you were with, and what your face looked like when it happened. This isn't just a title change. This isn't just another night in professional wrestling. What went down between Penta and Dominik Mysterio was a seismic shift, a cultural earthquake that shook the foundation of the entire wrestling world. And if you weren't watching live, don't worry. We are going to relive every single second of it together. Right here. Right now. Welcome back to Wrestling Impact. Let's go. To truly understand what this moment meant, we have to go back. Not just a few weeks, not just a few months. We have to go back to the DNA of both of these men, because when two worlds collide the way they did, the story never starts on the night of the match. It starts long before the lights ever come on. Dominik Mysterio. The name alone carries weight. Born into wrestling royalty, the son of a legend, the nephew of greatness, this young man walked into professional wrestling with a last name that opened every door and put a target on his back at the exact same time. But somewhere along the way, Dominik stopped trying to live up to the name. He flipped it. He weaponized it. He leaned into the villain that the fans started to see in him, and rather than fight the boos, he embraced them like a warm blanket on a cold night. And it worked. Because Dominik Mysterio became one of the most genuinely hated characters in all of professional wrestling, and he did it with a smug little smile and that perfectly groomed mustache that makes fans want to lose their minds every single time they see it on screen. He had become Intercontinental Champion through a combination of cunning, controversy, and just enough actual in-ring ability to make you question whether you should be hating him or respecting him. The title looked good around his waist and he knew it. He would parade around with it, pose with it, talk about it like it was his birthright, like that belt chose him specifically. And in that arrogance, that infuriating, unshakable arrogance, he made himself the perfect champion, because the perfect champion for a villain is the one that makes every single fan in that arena desperate for somebody to come take it away from him. Now if you are somehow unfamiliar with the man who calls himself Penta, the man behind the skull mask, the man with the zero fear philosophy, let me paint you a picture. Penta is not just a wrestler. Penta is an experience. From the moment his music hits and that mask catches the light, something changes in an arena. The energy shifts. The temperature drops and rises at the same exact time. Fans who have never seen him before instinctively feel something is different. Something dangerous just walked through that curtain. The lucha libre roots run deep in Penta's bones. The athleticism, the dramatics, the pure spectacle of his style, it's unlike anything that any other performer on any roster can replicate. He moves with violence and artistry in the same breath. He can take your arm off with a submission hold and make it look like a painting at the same time. And his presence, that skull mask, that raised fist, that zero fear gesture he throws to the crowd, it's iconic. It's become one of the most recognizable images in all of wrestling, and Penta has built that reputation one incredible performance at a time. But make no mistake, Penta had been building toward this specific moment with an intensity that you could feel through the screen. There was something different in his eyes during the weeks leading up to this match. A hunger. A sharpness. Like a man who had been waiting his whole career for exactly this kind of spotlight and was not going to let it pass him by. He cut promos that didn't feel like promos, they felt like confessions. Like genuine declarations of intent from a man who had already decided in his heart that that Intercontinental Championship was coming home with him, no matter what. The weeks building up to this match were appointment television. Every segment between these two was electric. Dominik made sure to get under Penta's skin every chance he got, using that silver tongue of his to poke, to prod, to provoke. He mocked the mask. He questioned whether Penta truly belonged at this level. He stood there with that championship held high and that insufferable grin and basically dared Penta to come take it from him. Classic heel tactics. Beautiful, infuriating, textbook villain behavior. And Penta? Penta responded the only way Penta knows how. Not with words. With action. With a look that could stop a freight train. With that zero fear gesture aimed directly at Dominik that sent the crowd into absolute orbit. The promos were fantastic, the build was fantastic, but everyone knew that when the bell rang, when these two actually got into that ring together, the real conversation was going to happen between the ropes. And the night finally came. The arena was already humming before the first note of music hit. You know those nights where you can just feel something special in the air before the show even starts? This was one of them. Fans had their signs ready, their voices warmed up, their emotions already running at full capacity. When Dominik made his entrance slow, deliberate, dripping with manufactured confidence, the booze came down like a thunderstorm. And he loved it. He soaked it in. He held that Intercontinental Championship up as he walked down the aisle like he was parading a war trophy. And then, that music hit. The reaction was immediate. The place erupted. And Penta walked out from behind that curtain like a man who had already won, not arrogant, not cocky, but certain. There is a difference between arrogance and certainty, and Penta carries the latter in every single step he takes. He made his way to the ring, that skull mask gleaming, and when he finally stepped through those ropes and stared across at Dominik, the electricity in that building was almost physically tangible. The referee held up the Intercontinental Championship one final time before the bell. Both men stared at it. And in that moment you could feel the weight of what was at stake, not just for the match, not just for the title, but for both of their legacies. The bell rang. Early on, Dominik was smart. Credit where it's due, the man is not just a character, he is a legitimate competitor who has learned from being around the best in the business his entire life. He used the ropes, he used the referee, he used every gray area available to him to slow Penta down and disrupt his rhythm. Cheap shots here. A well-timed distraction there. Classic Dominik. And for a brief moment it was working. He started to establish control, grounding Penta, keeping him away from the high-flying explosive offense that makes him so dangerous. The crowd got nervous. You could hear it. That murmur that runs through an arena when the hero is in trouble and the villain is starting to look comfortable. But then Penta fired back. One arm drag. One perfectly timed counter. One moment where Penta showed the athletic genius that lives in his body, and just like that the entire momentum of the match flipped like a light switch. The crowd came alive. Penta started to string things together, the quickness, the lucha fluidity, moves that don't seem physically possible until you're watching them happen in real time right in front of your eyes. Dominik scrambled. For the first time in the match, he looked rattled. That perfect composure started to crack ever so slightly around the edges. The match went back and forth from there in the most breathtaking way. Near falls that had the crowd on their feet, sequences that had commentators struggling to keep up, moments of pure athleticism that transcended the story being told and just became incredible professional wrestling for its own sake. Dominik hit a move that got a 2 count that felt like it went on forever. That referee's hand hit the mat once, twice, and the whole building held its breath before the shoulder came up. Penta kicked out. And the crowd let out this massive collective exhale, followed immediately by an even bigger eruption of noise. And then came the moment. The defining moment. The moment that you replayed 5 times when you got home and then replayed again the next morning while you were eating breakfast. Penta set up Dominik in the center of that ring. The crowd knew something was coming. That instinctive fan sense that you develop after years of watching this art form, they knew. The arena got louder even though it seemed physically impossible for it to get any louder. Penta looked out at the crowd, raised that fist, delivered that zero fear signal, and the place absolutely lost its mind. He hit it. The signature. Picture perfect. Dominik went down. Penta hooked the leg. 1, 2, and for a half a second, just a half a second, the entire world stopped. Time itself seemed to pause in that arena, 40,000 heartbeats all suspended in the same instant of pure uncertainty. 3. The referee's hand hit the mat. The bell rang, and the building exploded. The noise was indescribable. Just pure, unfiltered human joy unleashed all at once. Grown adults crying, kids jumping up and down on their seats, strangers hugging strangers the way that only wrestling can make happen. Because that is the magic of this thing we love. It builds you up and breaks you down, and then, when the payoff arrives, the emotional release is unlike anything else in entertainment. Penta stood in the center of that ring, and for just a moment, just a brief, beautiful moment, the mask didn't hide anything. You could feel the emotion radiating off of him. Years of work. Years of proving himself. Years of putting his body on the line night after night in buildings big and small, in front of thousands and in front of hundreds, always believing that a moment this big was coming. And there he was, standing in the middle of that ring with the Intercontinental Championship being handed to him for the first time. He raised it, and the crowd roared again, somehow even louder. Wind down, reflective, meaningful, nodding to the future. What happens now is the real question that every wrestling fan is already asking, because Penta as Intercontinental Champion opens up doors that are genuinely thrilling to think about. The challengers who will line up, the defenses that will be stories in themselves. A champion who fights with that level of passion and skill and theatrical brilliance is going to make that title feel more important every single time he walks out with it. That's what great champions do, they elevate the championship as much as the championship elevates them. And Dominik? Don't you dare count him out. Men like Dominik Mysterio don't disappear quietly into the background after a loss like this. If anything, losing that title is going to do something to him. It's going to add a new layer to the character, a new desperation, a new fire underneath all that manufactured smugness. The most dangerous version of a villain is the one who just lost something they loved. Remember that. This rivalry may have just produced its greatest chapter, but something tells me the story between these two men is far from over. And that, right there, is why we keep watching. That is why we set our reminders, we clear our schedules, we stay up late and we wake up early and we replay things on our phones at work when we're supposed to be doing literally anything else. Because professional wrestling, at its absolute best, delivers moments like this. Moments that make you feel something real. Moments that become permanent memories. Moments like Penta fist raised, championship held high, zero fear becoming Intercontinental Champion. If you felt that, if this video brought you back to that moment or made you feel it for the first time, drop a comment down below and tell me your reaction when Penta got that 3 count. Were you losing your mind? Were you celebrating alone at home like nobody was watching? Tell me everything. That's what this community is for. If you're new here and this is your first time on Wrestling Impact, welcome. This is what we do. Every video, every script, every breakdown is made with genuine love for this sport and for the people who love it alongside us. Hit that subscribe button and come be part of this family. And if you're already part of the team, you already know, like the video, share it with a fellow wrestling fan, and let's keep building something great together. Penta is your Intercontinental Champion. Zero fear. We'll see you in the next one.